Knowledge is a wealth that cannot be stolen. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? To dare, to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. It is not the path which is the difficulty. Rather, it is the difficulty which is the path. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use. People understand me so poorly that they don't even understand my complaint about them not understanding me. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. It is better to try something and fail than to try nothing and succeed. The result may be the same, but you won't be. We always grow more through defeats than victories. Many of us pursue pleasure with such breathless haste that we hurry past it. The door to happiness opens outward. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. Do it or don't do it. You will regret both. Once you label me, you negate me. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. Confidence is the present tense of hope. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you will never have. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. It is so hard to believe because it is so hard to obey. Take a chance, you may lose. Take not a chance, and you have lost already. It is impossible to exist without passion. Man always hopes for what he should remember, and forever remembers what he should hope for. The thing that cowardice fears most is decision. Wherever there is a crowd, there is untruth. The question is not to be or not to be. It is what we should be until we are not. Hope is a passion for the possible. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. The more people who believe something, the more apt it is to be wrong. The person who's right often has to stand alone. Only the noble of heart are called to difficulty. What distinguishes all love from lust is the fact that it bears an impression of eternity. The truth is a trap. You cannot get it without it getting you. You cannot get the truth by capturing it, only by its capturing you. Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. It is very important in life to know when your cue comes. The unhappy person is never present to themselves because they always live in the past or the future. Why bother remembering a past that cannot be made into a present? Once you are born in this world, you are old enough to die. Cultivate the will. This is the armor that preserves the mind. Therefore, do not deceive yourself. Of all deceivers, fear most yourself. My standpoint is armed neutrality. The best response to criticism is to smile and forget. On the secretly blushing cheek is reflected the glow of the heart. Happiness is the greatest hiding place for despair. My sorrow is my castle. Take away the paradox from the thinker, and you have a professor. In order to help another effectively, you must understand what he understands. Instruction begins when you put yourself in his place so that you may understand what he understands, and in the way he understands it. If you don't have many friends, that means you have a lot of life experience. The more silent you are, the more you are able to hear. The only intelligent tactical response to life's horror is to laugh defiantly at it. What is youth? A dream. What is love? The dream's content. We pretend to be unable to understand life because we know very well that the minute we understand, we are obliged to act accordingly. Most people are subjective toward themselves and objective toward all others. Frightfully objective sometimes, but the task is precisely to be objective toward oneself and subjective toward all others. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. Life has its own hidden forces, which you can only discover by living. Far from the idleness being the root of all evil, it is rather the only true good. A no does not hide anything, but a yes very easily becomes a deception. The highest, after all, is not to comprehend the highest, but to do it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. To be human is not a fact, but a task. To be lost in spiritlessness is the most terrible thing of all. We were given the commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. But if this commandment is correctly understood, then you can read in it the opposite statement. You must love yourself properly. Whoever has learned to be anxious in the right way has learned the ultimate. It is better to get lost in the passion than to lose the passion. I would rather be a swineherd, understood by the swine, than a poet misunderstood by men. Truth always rests with the minority, and the minority is always stronger than the majority, because the minority is generally formed by those who really have an opinion, while the strength of a majority is illusory. People settle for a level of despair they can tolerate and call it happiness. Our life is a game of whose rules we don't know. Life has become a bitter drink to me, and yet it must be taken in drops, counted one by one. Learn not to tell anything to anyone, because only then your life will definitely get better. For it is not what happens to me that makes me great, but it is what I do. You become what you understand. Be that self that one is. I opened my eyes and saw the real world, and I began to laugh, and I haven't stopped since.